Welcome to Inclusive Voices, a podcast where we discuss real life business, ethical dilemmas, and try to come up with constructive solutions for it. I'm your host, Sadia Suki. Today, we're going to discuss one of the most crucial parts of ethics in business, that is diversity and inclusivity. How people from different culture impact your business, and what are the steps you need to take to be diverse and inclusive in your business. Today joining me is Dr. Amna Sheikh. She's a dentist from Pakistan. Introduce yourself, Amna Sheikh.
Thank you for having me over, Sadia. And my name is Dr. Amna Sheikh. I'm a graduate from Pakistan, and I've worked a couple of years in Pakistan and pursued my dentistry. And after that, I moved to Dubai to pursue my post-graduation, Master's in Public Health, and I'm currently working as a research assistant with my university.
Pleasure to have you here, Movement. Thank you for doing this podcast.
Thank you.
So you said you pursued dentistry in Pakistan and then moved here to do Master in Public Health. Am I right?
Yeah.
Why did you switch over your field?
The switch over was necessary because in Pakistan, the research side and public health side is lacking. It's still under the developing phase. And during my undergrad as well, I was keen into research, and I had my research projects which got accepted internationally. So I went to Europe to present my research. So there I interacted with a lot of people and made contacts and basically looked up to what it is like in the side, in the other side of the world. So that is when I decided that I wanted to pursue my master in public health abroad and see the diversity and the how do you engage with all these people with different cultures, backgrounds, different nationalities, what are the health concerns, what are the health inequalities, and all of that. So that is the reason I pursued a master's in public health.
Amazing. And also I wanted to ask you, since you did your master's in public health, what made you choose Dubai? I mean, you're from University of Birmingham. You could choose in Gulf UK. Why Dubai?
Okay, why Dubai? Dubai is a land of opportunities, number one. Okay, so we have a lot of expat communities, and given the fact that it's in Arab countries or Muslim countries, so we have the language barrier is less, competitively less, and you don't have this cultural diversity, but you are able to fit into it. You're able to engage. You can try to fit. You can engage with people. You can have a conversation with them. Can work with them, sit with them, talk with them. And the third thing was that it's fairly nearby to Pakistan, so I can travel back and forth without feeling homesick. So these were the three main reasons I chose Dubai as my destination.
That's very validating. Okay, so if we start with today's topic, what is your take on diversity and inclusivity?
Okay, I want to explain both the terms. Okay, both of its terms, diversity and inclusivity, are interconnected. Okay, they're not the same. Diversity means interacting with individuals with different cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds. So we get to learn a lot from those. And inclusivity means that providing the people with the same opportunities, be it in the workplace or be it in any other setting. So they are being included in the rightful way.
Okay, so when I say okay, so as a person, as a doctor, do you think diversity and inclusivity is a constant thing in your field?
Yeah, I think it is a constant thing in my field here, especially in Dubai. We interact with people with diverse backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, different nationalities. But when it comes to including people on certain level or on a certain position, I think people are not fairly included, and there's some biasness as to what language they know. If I just know the language English, I won't be given preference over as compared to a person who is multilingual or bilingual. So I think workplaces should have this fair system where people are reported on the basis of what they know. They know how to do their work, irrespective of the fact that they know many different languages or not.
Well, say that people should be hired on the talents but not their languages. But it does make sense. I see I'm trying to find internships and getting here, but the preference is people who know Arabic. in spite of the talents I have. Yeah, I'm not saying that I have talent. Yeah, but I'm willing to learn.
There are a lot of job descriptions in which I fit perfectly, but when the end is pulled down, Arabic, and knowing the language Arabic is an asset, and you know that, and then you're qualified for that job. So no matter how much boxes we are taking in the job description, you are not eligible if you do not know that language. Yeah, so I think there should be some sort of training provided, and some sort of, even if you know some sort of beginner language, you should be included.
Okay, what do you mean by training provided? Can you elaborate that?
Training in sense of like languages. If for example, if I talk about my field, in my field, patients are like most of our patients are trained like that they are comfortable with someone treating them who's from their nationality who can speak their language. So they would prefer that doctor. Okay, Desi communities, they prefer doctors from their own country. So, if I'm treating a person, for suppose an Arabic person, there's an Arabic patient of mine. So even if I'm giving this workplace training, I know basic terms of Arabic, and I'm able to communicate, or I'm able to use the Google Translator. So, the patient will be more comfortable. Or if I have, how these Chinese people, they have their translators. Yeah. So even if the workplaces provide these translators, so, there will be equitable access to, you are able to work in that place. You will feel it.
Well, I get what you mean, but investing in translators, it wouldn't that be expensive for the phone?
Yeah, that would be. But then, okay, we need to find someone. Yeah, that is ethically right. Most of the Chinese people, they don't know how to speak English. But they are studying in universities, they are studying here anyway. They have their translators, and we are modifying things according to them. So why not in our practices really?
Fair enough. Okay, and also let's start with the case states are that the three main case studies we want to focus on. Okay, the first one is pay bias. Okay, do you think that in your field, in medical field or in research field, your ethnicity matters in pay bias, or your gender matters? Is there any disparity in between your pay because you're just from Pakistan, or because you're brown, or because you're a female?
Because of female, I would say yes, because it's a male-dominating society, and females are not that empowered. If you are speaking about Pakistan, there's no female empowerment, and it's a male-dominated society. So when it comes there, it's given to male candidates more, and when it comes to salaries, I would say the same. Based on not on ethnicity, based on education. I think it matters the most in Pakistan which university you are, which university you got your bachelor's done from. So there is disparity among the, I think, educational level, and then on the gender.
Education level, that's basically that the gender is very unethical, and it is unethical. So what about in UAE? Is there, I think, any cultural disparity?
I think it's a cultural disparity because we do not know Arabic. We are not the locals. So we are treated like that. We do not know Arabic. If we knew Arabic, we would be able to engage more. And, we would adapt more in their culture and blend in with.
The thing you mentioned that a Desi person wants to be treated by this. You think this is like a very big thing in like, especially in Indian culture and Pakistani culture? Because we just want to maintain our small circle and just hang out with people that already know the language.
Yes, we want to stay in our bubble. We want to stay in our comfort zone. We do not want to interact with people.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest things.
So yeah, if there's no awareness, if we are making our, how would I say that, public aware that, all the doctors are, it's not about the doctors, all the individuals are fully talented, and there's no language barrier, there's no cultural barrier. Though there is cultural barrier, but they should be given, an equal chance to.
And also, this is like a very important thing in UAE, but I see it all around. If you're Indian owning a business, 99% of the employees are gonna be Indians. Yeah, I don't understand the why. Like, yeah, the point. If you're in Dubai, your culture, you need to embrace it. I get it. But then again, have different point of views as well.
Exactly.
Different cultural point of view,
and that would come in favoritism. That you want to hire people from your own nationality, from your own. Yeah, so that's the thing with Pakistan and India as well.
Also, like, if you without reading about tokenism. Before we start discussing about tokenism, I'm just going to explain what tokenism is. Tokenism is basically hiring people just to show that you're diverse, but not including. Generally, there's a misconception that diversity and inclusivity are the same. But as Amna said, it's interconnected, but it's not the same. So the big companies, they just hire people because they're diverse, but not because of their talents, not because of the talents. They just hire them to show that they are very diverse, but don't include them in any major decision, I would say. I think. So what's your take on that?
I highly believe that is true. As I mentioned previously as well, that it doesn't matter what sort of a cultural and like diverse background you have. Even if you have the talent and you lack the basic, language barrier, you are not included. You're not given the chance. So this is my take on that.
Okay, so what do you think? Like, is it a thing in your healthcare industry? Like you said you're a researcher, yeah. So is it like an actual thing?
I would say it is there, but it's not like widely practiced as much as it is widely practiced.
Think diseases, yeah. Okay. So as a researcher, did you work with different ethnic people, national people? Well, how was the experience? It was really good.
They are very welcoming. They want to learn about our culture. One interesting thing is that one of my colleagues studied in Pakistan for his undergrad. And he knew the culture, he knew the...
Were you Pakistani? Where was it?
No, he was from Sudan.
Oh.
Yeah, Sudanese. Yeah, he studied in Pakistan, learned the language, he knew the language, he was able to communicate, and he knew our culture, which is interesting.
That is very interesting.
Which is interesting.
It's very interesting.
So I think people blending with our culture really well, and we as well, when we interact with them, we want to learn about their culture. I believe even if I go to Sudan or some other country, it's not just Sudan, any other country, so we tend to blend into their culture, learn more about them, their language.
So yeah, tell us about your research. Like you said, you did research and got selected, you traveled,
Basically, that research was about like awareness of oral cancer in undergrad, oral cancer. Yeah, in undergraduate medical health students. So basically, we're doing a cross-sectional study of the population, that if people are aware of the oral cancer and symptoms and know how to treat them, just have the basic awareness.
Okay.
So that thing was about that, because oral cancer is mainly towards the dentistry side. So we were concerned that people from the medical background had more knowledge about that. So it was a good study, and we were presenting Pakistan. So it got selected in Europe, in Madrid, Spain. So we went to present our research there. Yeah.
How old were you when you did this?
I was 20 when I went to Europe. Yeah.
I was my age already.
Yeah. I traveled Europe.
For research, yeah, it's very interesting. And look at me at 20 interviewing you.
I'm so glad and honored.
That is on one day. Okay, so what are this, like, also when I was doing research about you, basically I was talking to you after. So as I found out that you were doing research with you.
Yeah, WHO and International Parenthood Federation.
Yeah, so did you like work with different ethnicities? Like, did you research about different ethnicities, nationalities?
We researched on different countries, and though the topic is confidential, I'm not supposed to talk much about it, but I'll talk it on a surface level, that we searched different countries and the problem, the health concern that was there. So it was really a good attempt at scoping through different countries, looking at the infrastructure, looking at their laws and parliaments, and that implementations regarding the health concerns and inequalities. So we worked with different people on that project. Yeah, we were given the chance to work.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So basically, you're trying to like as a public health special, professional, but trying to study different cultures with a certain disease.
Yeah.
And also
on a certain health concern or health problem, would say.
That's very interesting. And also, when I was researching as well, I found out that like certain countries, people are banned because of the certain diseases. Is that true? I'm not sure, but
They're not banned, but in certain countries, in my country, there is polio is prevalent. So you need to have polio vaccines, or need to have those shots. And even if you're going to some African countries, so you need to have a certificate of yellow fever that you are vaccinated for that. So you need to take certain precaution when you're traveling to those countries that you are vaccinated in case you catch those diseases that are prevalent there.
But don't you think, like, I think while I was researching myself, I think I looked one article about this. I'm not sure. Just correct me if I'm wrong. Certain workplaces, especially in public health industries, they do let you travel if you're in that place because they're scared that you might spread it around.
Especially TB. They don't let you travel. They let you travel if you pass their assessment criteria. Like for the UK, they think that like TB is prevalent in our country, so they need to get the tuberculosis test done and chest X done. And once you're clear, you are good to for one travel.
And you can't come back. I heard that companies don't allow you to come back if you go there. No, you need to it's a certain quarantine to come back.
And if it was COVID, there was a quarantine requirement back then. But when it comes to traveling to places like UK, suppose, so you just need to have a clear like a TB test certificate and report, and then you're good to travel and you're good to go. So as even as the way you have this medical test where they see, yeah, they allow you if you're not medical fit, they don't allow. This is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, you need to look out for your population.
Yeah.
Okay, as a researcher, do you think the countries you research for, like on-site research, do you think the people are welcoming?
They're very welcoming. They're very welcome.
Do you think they understand the concept of diversity and they welcome you good, or
they understand the concept of diversity and they welcome us really well? And when they see that we are eager to learn about the culture, we are able to learn about the language, and I want to communicate with them, so they're very welcome regarding that, and they welcome us with open arms.
Okay, so I don't understand this one thing. See, if the people are welcoming, why are these companies and everyone that closing their doors for people from different cultures and not including them in the companies?
I think language is the barrier. Moreover, culture barrier, that is true. Language is the barrier. Because you're not able to communicate with them on that level.
But also, like, imagine you go to the West, near US and everything else. Still, there's this certain like diversity and ethnicity in Paris.
Yeah. You see, if you go to Europe, US, or any other country, English is a language that is widely spoken. So if you know English, you're able to communicate.
So you just emphasize that language is the main barrier for diversity and inclusivity.
And this is what I think.
Funny case study, while I was looking to my research and everything to interview you, I came across this one term called name bias.
Okay.
So for the audience who don't know name bias, it's basically this something? No one else know? Okay, for the audience who don't know name bias, basically, if you have a English name, or if, for example, if you have like a westernized name, you are more likely to get a call from the HR you interviewed for, more than if you have a cultural name, like traditional name of your culture. Do you think that's true?
I think that's true.
So you're saying if you have unique eyes?
Yes.
So you're saying if you have your name as Katrina, so do you think if your name is Care, then Amnashi, you would have more job opportunities on your level?
It varies, honestly. This is a practice in like most of the places, but it varies. If a employer wants to hire someone from how would I say, if an employer wants to hire a person who knows like Russian language, or like that particular person is bilingual, so if any Desi name comes up or any brown name comes up, he would automatically say, okay, he does not fit the criteria. But if English name comes up, he would automatically take that person. But again, that varies. Many of our Desi people, they know many languages. Okay, so I think that is unfair on them. Yeah.
And also, like, if it's like just CV, going for the actual interview, in my opinion, I don't know if it's right or wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. If you go for an actual interview, and then they speak to you, then they get to know you and everything. Then I don't think in that case you have name bias. Yeah, but if you submit your CV, if you drop your CV anywhere, you see the name is Amna Sheikh, you see the name is Sadia Sisi, and they'll be like, okay, first of all, they're Muslim. Yeah. And second of all, okay.
Yeah.
You do whatever. Yeah.
Is that right? It's unfair. They should go through CVs in depth to see what qualities and what talents they have, because many of our Desi-bound people are good at adapting cultures and language, especially. My sister, she knows Korean language.
Yeah, and also very random fact, but I met this one person who speaks Chinese. He's Pakistani.
Yeah.
He was born and brought to Pakistan, but he speaks Chinese fluent, like on actual fluently. Yeah.
Yeah, now he is at the Berlin media,
Even with the dialects, exactly.
it's pretty interesting. So that is why I'm saying that is unfair on those people. They should see their CV and them. They should not guess them based on their names. So that is a practice that is being done widespread.
And also this connects back to the thing that spoke before. This naming bias is it also linked with the first thing you talked about here. Pay disparity of them. Do you think just because you are darker in color, you are not qualified enough to get a higher pay than a person who's white and has a white name? That is true. That happens. It happens.
These differences are there and they're unfair. I think everyone should be given a fair chance to explore their talents and their abilities.
Why do you think these companies and firms in Melbourne, Christine, everywhere, they are so closed to this diversity and inclusivity topics? Like, why are they not trying to give their 100% to include everyone? Is there any specific reason in your point of view?
I don't think of any specific reason, but it's a very common practice. It's least to me, yeah, it's just a norm in the society. And people are just following it blindly, that's it. Nobody is stepping forward to bring the change.
So I also did a podcast. Sorry, cut you off, but I also did a podcast with one of the CEOs in Saudi. He's a young startup owner. He had a lot of interest in being the change.
Exactly. Someone has to step forward to bring that change.
I think in our younger generation, it's really like I'm noticing everyone like young CEO and everyone. They want a diverse culture. They want different perspectives. They want different ethnicities and everything to see every point of view.
Yeah.
I think it's getting better day by day.
Yeah, it's getting better day by day. But it's about the fact that one has to step up to bring the change.
But if we spoke about third-rate countries like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, it still stays the same.
It is the same because it's male-dominant. Yeah, it's male-dominant society. And people are from conservative backgrounds. There's a lack of awareness, lack of social media. So they are in their bubble only. And they want to progress at their own levels. They don't want any other, interference.
Yeah. And also, I have one thing. I want to past. As far as I heard, I'm not criticizing as an Indian. Don't take it in a wrong way. Okay? I'm just curious. Okay? I heard that in Pakistan, they don't let women out and everything. It's very male dominant. They don't let women do anything. So, you being a dentist, did it impact you in any societal way? People did they criticize you? Was it really hard for you? So how?
I would agree it's a male-dominant society, but in the rural areas, okay, where there's lack of education, lack of facilities, lack of amenities, but when it comes to the city life in urban areas, they are educated families. I myself come from a very educated family, and I'm blessed to have supportive parents who supported me in every way possible. So I was able to work in such a male-dominating society. And these differences are there. I believe they are in India as well, if you compare rural to urban. So, people in villages especially, they do not have access to social media or by phones. They are still in that old era where they're communicating through like word of mouth and stuff like that. So it all, stems from the basic concept of social
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off, but I would say India is developed because of our cheap internet. Okay. But Pakistan, okay, personal. For our guys, it is about now India, Pakistan. You have cross-border differences, but we love each other. And also,
you're getting a call continuously if you want to answer.
Oh, excuse me.
No, I don't want to answer that call. That's fine. Okay, this is the second time. Yeah, that's okay, fine. It's you can.
Okay, to wrap it up, Kamnaji. Okay, to wrap it up, Pramna. What is the suggestion to our audience about, like, as a person who wants to come study in Dubai, or as a person who wants to work with diverse people but are scared to because there's this one perspective that, oh, the subconscious element that, oh shit, he's gonna harm me because he's from this race, because of the past actions. You understand what I mean?
Can you elaborate more on that?
Okay, so basically, let's cut this entire part off. This is one more thing we can talk about. Okay? No, thank you.
ये ना ये अभी मैं से बैठेगी ना ये गंदा पॉडकास्ट लेके किधर तो हो गया एक्चुअली गुड इट्स 31 minutes without
पाकिस्तान इंडिया भी आ गया मैच चल रहा है हमारा. Okay. So, I also wanted to talk about this one more thing. I think personally, there's like constant psychological thing in UAEs. But like as a doctor, what is your perspective on this? I just want to know. As a human being, as psychologically, I would say that if a person from certain race approaches me, certain geo approaches me, and I'm like, oh, like the subconscious, not willingly, like I'm not thinking about it. But I'm going to take a step back because in my head, maybe this person is going to hurt me because maybe of the past actions, maybe, or because of the society normal. But I'm just going to subconsciously think that, oh, this person is going to hurt me, and I'm going to stay maintain my distance. Do you think this is actually a thing, or it's just...
This is actually a thing when it comes to India, Pakistan.
Oh my God, not India.
Yeah. No, this is, I would relate with that on a personal level. When I was in Pakistan, we were brought up in that bubble. Okay, we have studied history. So I never interacted with Indian fellows. I have one of my very close friends. She's from India, but she migrated to Pakistan. Okay, so I never experienced individuals coming from India and sitting together like that. When I came to Dubai, I have made a lot of good friends from India. So we actually, when we sat together, we spent time together, we did things together at an event. So I saw that all these differences really matter. It was all in our heads. And all the society things that society told us. In fact, we all are good human beings, and we all have all the mutual love and respect for each other. We respect each other's traditions, beliefs, and we are able to hold up a good conversation in a mature way and in a constructive way. Even if you're giving them a constructive criticism, they take it very maturely and very practically. Very self. Very self. So I think this matters. I think everyone should get this exposure of coming abroad, getting out of their comfort zones, getting out of the bubble they are in, and getting to know the other person.
Yeah. Also, if I give you an example, Martin, I'm not trying to be racist, okay? But this is from certain people. I heard this at PhDs by voice armor. Well, so I'm not trying to be racist. Me saying the truth. Okay? It was this one really close friend of mine. Okay, she had also one example. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just like, my friend, she took me, and I saw this firsthand as well. If you have a black friend, you're not gonna be more open to them. Okay, this also connects to the cultural bubble part as well. You're not gonna be more open to him or her because you're psychologically you're like, oh my God, this first person is gonna harm me because that's the way the blacks are portrayed in society.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I think when I was in Pakistan, I would agree on that because I never stepped out of my comfort zone. But when I came here and interacted with these individuals, I got to know they're very kind-hearted. They're very down to earth. Many people portrayed them in a very wrong way. This racist, like this word racism stems deep inside. We need to actually come up and sit with them, talk with them, work with them in order to learn how good of individuals they are at a personal level. I've personally had colleagues and who have been great colleagues. They help me in ways I never asked them for help, but they're always there for me. So I think these cultural barrier differences and all the societal things that we keep on hearing, these are all like, I do think we should pay attention to that.
And also, when I was in on like this diversity and racism topic, diversity and inclusivity topic, and for our audience, what would you say if they want to come to the bar and study, and also if they want to proceed this certain thing? Do you think they should be scared about their culture, or just? I would also. What would you suggest? What would you suggest companies that how could they be more open?
Okay. So I would say that it's okay to be scared at first, but you need to take the baby steps to come forward and you need to step out of your comfort zone, step out of your bubble. And when you will actually thrive in those challenging environments, that is when you will realize what potentials you have and you would explore them better. And regarding the companies, I would say that, you should hire people and give them a chance based on their talent, not on what cultural and socioeconomic disparities they have. And every person needs to be given a chance to learn and grow and adapt new skills and, be better in their own way.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much, and we're taking time for